Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, built just for you, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. We're where you live your life. We're where you run your business.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant, and this is Small Business School. Every week right here, you learn about a business and the people who run it. When we first met Jim Coane, his company was providing databases to online services. He launched and successfully sold his own online music company, and now he's a venture capitalist. There are 23 million small businesses in this country. We wish we could visit them all. Today from Los Angeles, we learn how one small firm thinks and acts big. In 1984, Ronald Altoon and Jim Porter left a large architectural firm to build their own business. They offer planning, urban design, architecture, interior architecture, and graphic design.
We've actually cleaned it up substantially from what it's...
When did you know you wanted to be an architect?
Oh, I became an architect out of the classic accident of high school counseling. I had a counselor. Well, I was particularly good in math and in art. And so I entered architecture school and tried to transfer out of it 3 times.
Why?
Well, I wasn't really gratified in the early years. And so I took every nickel I had in the world. My father had died when I was fairly young, 14, and Social Security had a one-time bump for kids in my situation. And I decided I needed to really find out for myself if this was a career I wanted to have. My very favorite classes in school were architecture history and art history, so I took that money, bought a cheap ticket to Europe, and with a friend went over and traveled 10,000 miles through 17 countries and principalities, visiting every important architectural landmark in Europe. I saw it all, and I came back so charged up that this is what I wanted to be a part of.
When did you say to yourself, I'm going to be an architect?
When I was in junior high school, I got very interested in sort of the drawing and the creating spaces and buildings process. I grew up in a musical family. I was a musician by training and by profession, and I actually did that full time for quite a while, and sort of got me into
Did it get you into poverty than you thought? Because
well,
it's kind of hard to make a living as a musician, isn't it?
My dad, who was a musician, said, "Oh, you've got to learn an honest profession," you know. Oh. And little did he know that architecture was certainly going to be all of the challenge that music or any other profession or art form would present itself.
And I went to work immediately in a very large, prominent architectural firm in downtown Los Angeles. Worked there for 3 years. Found that a large firm, as good as it was not satisfying my needs as an individual. And so I left and went with a much smaller firm. Stayed there a year, finding that the smaller firm just couldn't stretch to my intellectual capacities where I wanted to go.
You were bored.
I was bored. And so I did the only irrational thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, come on.
And I went to work for a fellow who has since become probably the most famous architect in the world today, and that's Frank Gehry.
Why was that irrational?
Because Frank was interested in breaking the box, and I was always interested in building it. And so I went to work with Frank, and in 3.5 years there, probably got the equivalent of 6 years worth of experience. It was an extraordinary time with very bright and capable people. And I had met my partner, Jim Porter, in Frank Gehry's office. And Jim had left about 1.5 years after we had met to go with a large commercial firm. And he was still there. And at Jim's recommendation, that of a former colleague of mine and a client, I was asked to come and take charge of their design department and lead design for a 6-office, 115-person firm.
Ron and I evolved in that organization into into the management committee, members of the board, stockholders, and trusted leaders of the firm.
What clicked in your brains that said, we need to do our own thing?
It came after a process of actually attempting to acquire the firm. And we went through a long process with consultants and soul searching and negotiations, and actually evolved into a year of operating the firm. We couldn't get the control, the financial and business control. We couldn't get our arms around that if we were to stay. So we said, hey, there's actually more risk to stay here and take on all of this baggage as opposed to staking out our own ship and going to business for ourselves. We never looked back. Ron and I and another key person from that firm set up the business, and we just got on a roll.
Learning the essence of their
Partner
place,
Bill Sebring
helping
leads
them
a
achieve
team
that.
meeting.
What you're seeing is a group of people discussing a project. This happens to be in Australia. And what we tend to do is we tend to cover the walls with concepts and ideas, and we use those to breed other ideas.
Sure.
And we work cohesively and actually challenging each other.
So someone walks by and says, and they take a marker and add something to it?
Well, it's very interesting. You see some drawings like those. Those are very, very, very rough drawings. Those are trying to get ideas out of your mind onto paper that can build. And you can see the transition from this drawing here on the left down to this one,
Right.
down to the finished picture over there, where it begins to mature itself and grow.
That's right. Ronald Altoon and Jim Porter built their own business on the theory that product power is better than star power.
First of all, we set up a business that wasn't relying on one sort of hero or design guru or our business whiz-bang, as many of the firms in all kinds of businesses are founded on.
Many of our good friends who are great designers have started their own practice, and I admire them greatly. But what I've always observed in those firms is that because they are so focused on the design issue, they tend to not be able to focus at the same time on the management issues of projects or the technical issues.
We set up a three-legged stool, in effect, that had strengths in all key areas of the practice: the business, the design, and the technical aspects.
We didn't want to structure the firm on a departmental basis, which that might suggest. And other large firms have taken that matrix and turned it vertically and set up studios where everything happens under a partner within the studio.
Right.
But you know what happens with that? As good projects and good clients come along, there's friction between the studios because each one wants the best staff, the best clients, the best projects, the most awards, the most profit, and there's internal strife. So we took the best of both of these and we did that.
So that was the foundation, and we still talk about that today, and it just has expanded from 3 to 6 partners with finer grained areas of those aspects covered.
There will be a partner responsible for the legal, accounting, insurance, contracts on everyone's project. He has the last review, the last word. I have it in design. Another one has it in project management. And another one has it in technical services. So instead of each project getting the eyes of one partner, they get the eyes of all partners who all have a vested interest in every project.
It took a leap of faith for clients to say, gee, here's a couple of young whippersnappers that don't have the facilities, they don't have a staff of 50 people, but we did it with smoke and mirrors a bit at times, But we did have the personal relationships, and that paid dividends when because we were honorable, we accomplished things, we were able to do what we said in the past, and the next day, literally, we had a call from a client that we were working for in Washington, D.C., and we went right ahead with a project that turned out to be a 1 million square foot office building. It's now the corporate headquarters for Fannie Mae. Bingo. We had a winner.
So let's talk about how you get business then, because the firms that have that big star name on them, they sort of lead with that. Well, of course you're going to use us because we're so-and-so. Well, you're not doing that. You've taken a different strategy. So how do you get business?
There's several ways. I would say most of our business comes to us by referral. The best way to get business is to serve your clients well, have them come back, and have them refer you to other people. We are also very active across the board in the partnership in industry organizations. We've been involved in the Urban Land Institute. We've been involved in the International Council of Shopping Centers.
Let's talk a little bit about the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, in that you are the immediate past president.
Yes, that's right.
What is that organization, and why is it important for architects to be involved in it?
The American Institute of Architects was founded in 1857 in New York. It's now a 63,000 member organization headquartered in Washington, a block and a half from the White House, with a staff of 155 people. It does everything from governmental affairs, writing legislation, lobbying for legislation. It has a continuing education program mandating 36 units of education per year per person in order to maintain your membership in AIA.
Really?
So we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We've really set about to build bridges to other associations around the world, to educators, to the Mayor's Institute, many different types of things to inject ourselves into society in a more positive way.
So when you get up in a platform like that, people in the audience say, hey, maybe we should talk to them about doing our business.
Well, they see a value structure, perhaps, that maybe correlates to theirs. And I tend to get up and not talk about our work. I tend to talk about the issues that the people in the audience are embracing in their work. And I try and build a compatibility with our understanding of their issues and how we respond to them than talking about my baby pictures.
Since the doors opened, they have designed and put into construction over $2 billion worth of work. The Arthur Ashe Center on the campus of UCLA is one of the firm's more recent accomplishments.
And it was a building designed to repair the damage of multiple generations on the campus. This university was built in 3 generations. The first was eclectic and wonderful. The second was a post-war growth that was impersonal. And the third was somewhat irrelevant plot buildings. And so the patterns that you see here, the vertical and horizontal patterns of this original building, are abstracted and caught up in the architecture of the new building. And it's created a zone here that's very enriching.
What is it that you're a part of as an architect?
We are creating constantly. The act of creation is the most wonderful of human acts. And we are in the act of creating things that will stand the test of time.
We feel that one of our main goals in life in this profession is to do quality work, not just make money. It's not. We feel that the money will follow if we do quality projects. We do them in a business-like manner, and
on time.
We adhere to our requirements as well as the clients, and it will generate profitable business for us.
We had been a very successful startup business. We had tripled the first year, we had tripled the second year, we had tripled the third year. The wheels were almost coming off. We retrenched and we tightened up, and we were doing first-rate work for top-flight developer clients, mostly in the retail venue. And the consultant that we had engaged when we started our practice had been a sage advisor to us. I called this man on the phone, and I said, we're approaching our 7th year. I'm having a 7-year itch.
Uh-oh.
Why am I not happy? And he said, what would make you happy? I said, as much as I enjoy doing these wonderful commercial retail buildings, I was really trained to do institutional buildings. I had practiced on projects overseas in our former life. I'm missing that. I'd like to do an occasional public job, and we just don't seem to be getting there. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of support for that because we're thriving in what we're doing. So I've written a memo to my partners resigning.
Great.
And I've given them a 7-year down ramp because it took us 7 years together to build it. I figured I owed them 7 years out the door. And I said, if we're not there in 7 years, I want you to know right now that I'm going to go do something else.
Were you angry? Were you upset? Were you sad? Did
Challenged.
You didn't get in a knot in your stomach? Oh my gosh.
No. I think the frustration is that, we've sort of got this figured out. So now what? Let's find another windmill. So what do? We start playing catch up. All of our competitors in the big firms have been overseas by that time. There's a clear interest in Yankee ingenuity, especially in Asia. Asian cities want everything we have in this country.
The mixed-use spaces, the retail areas with hotels and restaurants and cinemas and all that, they want that.
So we were able to bring value there and found an audience. And the first big project was in Jakarta. Turned into a project after a series of studies on other projects for the same client. It turned into a 7.7 million square foot project, a 1.5 million square foot 6-level shopping mall, a 8 complex development of housing on top, 36-story towers. Altogether a very large development, large by any scale, a measure.
So you learn it under pressure.
We are able to do it because we look for a very technically capable local firm wherever we go, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or Kuala Lumpur or Jakarta, and we have to have that.
You hire a local firm who works under your umbrella to do a lot of the detail on the ground.
They do the local liaison, they know the codes, they know the laws, they know the building materials, they know the technology, whether it be low or high, the realities of how things get built, and we learn from that. We bring all of that back home and we design buildings around that. We have decided from the beginning to date not to open branch offices. We do all of the design work here so that the projects benefit from the input from all of the partners, from all of these different diverse areas of the practice are focused on every single project. So we take that design overseas, present it, and work out the details locally.
We could direct our destiny. Instead of going with the flow, we go upstream.
A lot of us get in our ruts, but we don't have the courage to say, step out of that road
You know
and
what?
go down another path.
I'm very, very fortunate because I'm the one that tends to be willing to take whatever risk we need to take. And I can't do that without having around me the partners that keep everything in balance.
The world wants American products and services. Altoon and Porter have proven that. They give us some great advice. Do your homework before you get on the airplane. Bring your international customers products and services they can't find locally. Establish local strategic alliances and deliver on your promises. The firm employs 50 people who mostly office in Los Angeles, with a few scattered around the world.
Well, it's very important in the creative business that you assemble the very best team, the appropriate team for a project. Therefore, the designer, the intermediate designer, the project manager, the project architect, all the people that come together bring unique skills that they've developed over a career. We, in this firm, assign the people that are most suited to a particular project, a particular client, a particular venue. And because we depend so much on inter-team communication, we move them so they can work closely together and hear each other's conversations on the phone with other people.
At Altoon Porter, employees have their very own chair and their very own computer, but not their very own office space, which means workspaces change often.
It's really creating a space that you can recreate yourself for the need you have that particular day.
No, for me it's exciting. I have a short attention span in my work, so I like to jump from job to job. And
the barriers that may have existed 10 years ago have really diminished dramatically. What we've discovered that electronically we can communicate in ways that are absolutely revolutionary.
Partner Carl Meyer explains how they use their website as a virtual office.
We'll be able to really be a 24-hour organization.
Okay, how will that work?
Not only will our switchboard, when it closes here in Los Angeles, transfer to someplace like Australia, and then when Australia closes after eight or 9 hours, it'll go to Amsterdam and then back to Los Angeles. But our work itself, the project that we may be working on, drawings then can, when the crew finishes working on it here in Los Angeles, the night crew, if you will, in Sydney can pick up on that work. And
Your
continue
night
to
crew,
work
their
on that.
day crew.
Their day crew.
Okay.
And when they finish it, it goes to Europe, and when Europe finishes it, it comes back to here. And so while we've been sleeping in Los Angeles, 2 crews have worked 16, 18 hours on those drawings, and we're a whole jump ahead.
Anything you want to say about why this partnership works?
I think it works because we all perceive the need for each other. If you took the range of personalities that humans have, that people have, and divided them up into quadrants that all intersect, you would find partners here, partners here, partners here, but nobody's the same, and we seem to fill in all the gaps for each other.
The challenge for me is I'd like to see us have a bigger impact. I think there's enough talent here in this pool of 6 partners and our senior people that we should be able to produce more work at this same quality level. That for me is where my challenge, where I've set the challenge.
What is it that occupies your mind? What are you thinking about now?
What I've come to realize is we have to breed leaders in our firm. It's not just leaders of projects or how we conduct our practice, but it's creating leaders in the greater community. Leadership demands of an individual 3 things. It demands that they can vision, that they can induce others into embracing their vision, and that they have a willingness to take risk. Without those 3, you can be a great manager and never a good leader. The most important one is the willingness to take risk.
And that stimulates your imagination for what you're going to build there?
That's correct.
I learned that building a business is even harder than building a building, and these 2 have succeeded at both.
We can do anything. I mean, I feel we have literally done the largest projects that ever get built. So our size is not a handicap there. It's to me, it's a challenge of actually having a bigger impact. Not from an ego standpoint, but just from a fulfillment standpoint that just feels right.
Jeff Slutsky, owner of Street Fighter Marketing, says, if you play a joke on people and it backfires, be prepared to find a way to recover. Jeff, in your book, you advise those of us in small business to get involved in the community, and I know you and Mark are involved. Tell me about that.
Well, we're very involved in the community. I'm on the board of directors of the American Cancer Society. My brother's been involved with a lot of programs. The only problem is, as a small business owner, if you spend way too much time on these committees, it could pull you away from your business. And I remember when my brother Mark was on this committee, and none of the committee members would show up. It's a volunteer thing, and it's hard to get people to show up, and it was getting very, very difficult. Finally, out of desperation, he sends them a flyer. Show up at the meeting, I'll give you all a free chicken dinner. And that worked. They all showed up, they got their work done, everything was great. And then he gave them their free chicken dinner. Little packets of dried corn. They got upset, he ran out and went to the Colonel, got some chicken dinners for them, but the thing is, he got them there. But I do believe that being involved in the community can be really good for your small business.
Ron Altoon talked about the American Institute of Architects. You can learn more about this organization by going to its website, aia.org. Just as Altoon and Porter are working around the world, you can too. To learn more about going international from the U.S. Department of Commerce, visit its website, buyusa.com. There's also very good help at exporthotline.com. Remember, like Altoon and Porter, you don't have to be big to act big. We'll see you next week.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, built just for you, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides.
The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.